And welcome back to yet another edition of Maddie's Rap. I'm your host, the multiple award-winning author, Matt D. Talford, author of a couple of must-have titles that you need in your ebook or printed library. And I'm going to tell you about those books at the end of today's video. Because right now, I want to get into a topic that I feel is very timely for what is going on in the world right now. How to defeat, divide, and conquer with one word. Now, for those of you that are that saw my community post, you know that that title was originally How to Defeat It with 4 letters. So if I said 4 letters there and one word here, you probably know what that one word is, all right? I'm not going to hold y'all. Love. You can defeat, divide, and conquer with love. And we're going to get into that in just a moment, but not before I give a special thank you to a very special group of people. My new and returning subscribers. Thank you guys. Thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. The channel continues to grow. People are now talking and having some conversations that need to be had, okay? And I could not have done that without the participation of each and every one of you who watch my videos, who like them, who share them, and who leave comments. Thank you. And for those of you who have not necessarily always agreed with the subject matter or my presentation or my narrative, thank you for respectfully disagreeing. We're not going to all agree, okay? We are not all the same, so we're not all going to agree on everything. But we can find things that we have in common, and for the things that we don't have in common, we can at least be nice about it. So thank you guys. I want to say thank you for those of you who have respectfully disagreed, because I love you guys as well. I do. Now, thank you guys again for supporting this channel. Thank you for supporting my work. I've been doing this for a while now, and it is nice to finally start to gain some traction where you guys are talking back. Because who wants to talk and who wants to have a conversation with themselves every day, right? Every time they turn on the microphone and the camera. So, how to defeat, divide, and conquer with one word: love. What I'm going to do is I am going to give some scripture references. You guys know that the majority of the things that I present on this channel can be tied to scripture in one way, shape, or form, okay? 2, you guys know that I am not a religious person. So when you hear scripture, go ahead and make that differentiation between scripture and religion. You guys hear me say it all the time. I'll say it again. The Bible, the scriptures that are included in the 66 book canon, as well as those that were strategically left out, are not religious texts, okay? They are history, they are spiritual principles, and they are prophecy. That's it. Religious establishments around the world have taken all or parts of those scriptures and formulated them into doctrines, things that I call doctrines of control. Spirituality is freedom, religion is control. You choose. The choice is yours, okay? Now, so when you hear me say scripture, don't spin that and say, oh, he's a religious guy. I'm not religious. I am not religious. I've not been a member of a church now for 20 years? About 20 years now. It's been 2 decades I've not been a member of a church. I'm not knocking anybody who is. I grew up in church, all right? I'm not knocking anybody who is. But anyway, I'm belaboring the point. Let me get off of that. Our scripture references today are going to be from Mark chapter 3 and 25, and then Proverbs chapter 4, verses 5 through 7. So I'm going to read those scriptures. I'm going to give you a little background on divide and conquer. Where did that name come from? How does it apply? Or where did that term come from? How does that apply? How does it apply to what's going on in the world today? And then I'm going to talk to you about how love defeats that strategy. All right. And I'm going to do that by sharing with you an example of something that I'm going to share with you, an army story. One of the reasons I'm wearing a hat today. Okay. I've got an example from my days in the army that will support how love defeats the divide and conquer strategy. And then we're going to talk about ways to identify attempts to create division. Okay. How to identify attempts to create division and how you apply the forces of love and understanding to defeat those attempts. All right. And then we're going to wrap up. Okay, we're going to wrap up. I'm going to maybe hit you guys with a basic understanding of how astrology, how knowing your own personal astrology can help improve your relationships. All right, and that all ties together. So we're going to do that after a short break. You're watching Maddie's Rap with author Matt D. Talford. We're back. And without further ado, let us begin. How to defeat the divide and conquer strategy with one word: love. All right, guys, I told you I was going to give you a scripture reference, so we're going to jump right in. If you go to the book of Mark, chapter 3, verse 25, you'll find these words. And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. That's Mark 3 and 25. Self-explanatory. You're going to see how that applies. How to defeat the divide and conquer strategy using love. All right. So first, understand that in accordance with the scripture, a house divided against itself cannot stand. All right. That can be physical. That can also be spiritual. Okay. It can also be relationships. All right. We're talking about relationships here. How to defeat divide and conquer using love. All right. Let's see. Where was I? Because I lost my notes. There we go. All right. The next passage of scripture, Proverbs 4 and 5 through 7. Let's go there. Proverbs 4 and 5 through 7. Verse 5. Get wisdom, get understanding, forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Verse 6. Forsake her not, and she shall preserve thee. Who's the she? Wisdom. Love her, and she shall keep thee. Verse 7. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. All right? I'm going to show you, that was Proverbs chapter 4, verses 5 through 7. I am going to show you how that applies to defeating the divide and conquer strategy with regards to your relationships. I'm putting it out there. We're talking about relationships here, okay? And we're not necessarily talking about romantic relationships, although those can apply too. We're talking about relationships, period. It could be romantic. It could be family. It could be friendships. It could be workplace, whatever, okay? Relationships is what I'm talking about. I probably should have framed that up front, but I'm here to tell you now. And really, I mean, if you talk about the battlefield, it's about relationships too, but relationships in a different way. What is this troop? Where is this troop? How large is this troop? How strong is this troop relative to this part of the same force? All right. And you know what? I have an article on my website, www.mdtalford.com, that I actually wrote 2 years ago this month. I wrote it in November 2020, and it talked about the 5-step modus operandi of the culture vulture. Okay, I'll put a link to that article in the description box below. That article supports today's video. I want you guys to check that out. All right, I broke down 2 years ago, how 5 steps are typically what you see with a culture vulture. And culture vultures, they come in and do the divide and conquer as well. All right, I want y'all to pay attention to what's happening today, because by the time this video is over, you're going to be strengthened and energized, and you're going to have an awareness that is going to strengthen your relationships. All right. Now, let's get back to this. So that's on my website, mdtalford.com, the 5-step modus operandi of the culture vulture. All right. And also have another reference I want you guys to check out. I'll put a link in the description box below. It is a video I did maybe a year or two ago, and it is called How Mighty Nations Fall. Okay, something like that. I'll put the link in the description box below. Now, getting back to those 2 passages of scripture, I want you guys to just put those in your back pocket, because you're going to see how they apply as I move through the subject matter today. Divide and conquer. What is the history of divide and conquer? How did it get its name? There is a historical military mastermind who is credited with being the father of the divide and conquer strategy. His name is Napoleon Bonaparte. Now, I don't give Napoleon credit for that divide and conquer, because divide and conquer has been around as long as man has been, okay? I actually want to go back a little bit further. I can take you back to the ancient Romans, okay? So the French, I'm here to tell you, the French were not the first to employ the divide and conquer strategy. Napoleon just got credit for it for whatever reason, all right? What is divide and conquer, Matt? What does that strategy look like on the battlefield? Typically, Napoleon would go up against a force that was superior to his with regards to numbers. They were numerically superior to his, and to look at them, if you were just going by the numbers, you might think, man, they're about to wipe us out. But what Napoleon understood was that if he could take that steak, y'all know I like food, not so much of a beef guy anymore, but if you're going to get a big tomahawk ribeye, I got to shout out to my man Biscuit. When we go and do the thing, he's always getting the tomahawk ribeye, okay? Shout out to my man Biscuit. When you get that tomahawk ribeye, you can't eat that thing in one bite. You got to break it down into smaller pieces and conquer those smaller pieces. You divide and conquer, okay? That steak is formidable looking at it, and you're like, there's no way I can eat this in one bite. The same applied with Napoleon and his military. This is a greater force. How can we break them up? So he would do this divide and conquer thing. He would divide his troops and use his troops to divide the other ones, okay? So he would he'd do a show of force and get them thinking, okay, this is where the battle is. And meanwhile, he's going around doing something subversive around the side. He's going up in the cut. All right, hey, while they're focused right here, let's go around here and do this. And then when we break them down, all right, and we got them there, once they realize what happened and they got no support anymore because we took away their support structure, now they're going to begin to crumble. Their hearts are going to be able to begin to melt, all right? And if they are courageous enough to continue to fight, if we just stay on them, they won't be able to resupply, all right? Because we've cut off their supply chain. We got them now. It's just a matter of time before they fall, all right? The Romans used to do that. What the Romans would do is the Romans would surround a city or a a rampart, if you will, so a castle, something with walls. They would surround it, regardless of how thick those walls were. The Romans understood that, hey, you know what? They can only grow so much food and have so much water inside that city. Eventually, they're going to have to resupply. Guess what? What we'll do is we'll come and we will put a wall of our own in between, or we'll erect a fence between their food supply or their water supply and them. All right. We'll erect a fence and then we'll stand in front of that fence. So for you to get to your water, you got to come through us now. And guess what? We got access to you. We got your water and your fields. So we eating. We'll sit here and wait. Y'all want to come out and fight? Okay, we'll wait. That was a way that they also did divide and conquer. Okay, but divide and conquer works the same way in relationships. All right, it works the same way in relationships. So I wanted to give you guys a history of divide and conquer, what that looked like on the battlefield. Now I'm going to show you what that looks like in relationships. All right. All right. We're going to move to our part 2 here, how love defeats the divide and conquer strategy. Let me share with you guys a story of something that happened with me and a fellow soldier when I was around the tender age of 19 in the Army. I think I was 19, maybe about to turn 20, all right? And this is me and my man Chandler. You know, in the military, you rarely hear somebody get called by their first name. So Chandler, shout out to you if you're watching this video. I don't know what city you live in right now. Whatever. I don't know if you went back home to Georgia after you got out of the military or not. But shout out to you because you were one of the characters in this story. So divide and conquer and how love defeats it. So there was this thing that we did in the military where, you know, if you were going to be, say, for example, when I got to my unit at Fort Polk, Louisiana, I was a part of headquarters company 36 Infantry, okay? In HHC 36, you had all of your support. So in the infantry, you got your headquarters company that also has all of your support pieces, all right? You got your medics. I was in a mechanized infantry unit, so you got your mechanics, you got your communications people, you got your cooks, okay? All of the people that do, and you got supply. So these are the people that support that combat unit. And then you got Alpha Company, Bravo Company, Delta Company, Charlie Company, Delta Company, and Echo Company, and however many other companies they got, all right? if you, we spent time with, for example, depending on how long your assignment was or how long you were assigned to that particular unit, you might be, you might transition through supporting different parts. So for example, when I got to Fort Polk and checked in and was assigned to my unit HHC 36, I was assigned to be the medic for a Delta company. All right. Say, hey, Talford, you're going to Delta company. All right, boom. I'm Delta company's medic. All right. Stayed with Delta company pretty much my whole time. I mean, we were supposed to rotate like every 6 months. We were supposed to rotate. Delta company loved me so much. Their commander, when it was time for me to rotate out, I told my guys there at Delta company that I had been supporting. I said, hey guys, this is my last field problem with you guys. And as a quick note, a field problem is when you get, it's basically training out in the field. You're doing battle training out in the field. So at that last field problem, I told my guys, I said, hey guys, this is my last field problem with you guys. I'm going to be, transitioning out of Delta company, and I'm probably going to get switched over to another company. I don't know which one yet. They might put me in Alpha. They might put me in Bravo, Charlie, Echo. I don't know. And they were not happy about that. They love Doc Talford. So they sent word up. Now here I am. I was a PFC at the time, all right, or an E3, low ranking, talking to other low ranking guys. They didn't like it. They told their sergeant. They told their they told their squad leader. Their squad leader told the platoon sergeant. Okay, the platoon sergeant told the executive officer. All right, it made its way all the way up to the company. The first sergeant found out. It made its way all the way up to the company commander, and they were not happy. They were like, "Hey, Delta company commander came to me and he said, hey, Doc Talford, what's this I hear about you going to be leaving my company?" I said, "It's just what we do, sir." He said, "Do you like Delta company?" I said, "I love Delta company, sir." He said, "All right, well, you're not leaving Delta company." I said, "Sir, that's not up to me. You're going to have to go talk to." He stopped right there, left. Boom. All right. I get called to the office one day. It's probably a day after that, whatever. I don't know. I forget the timelines. But the next time I'm in the aid station, I get called into the office of leadership. "Talford, report to the office." Boom. All right, I'm going to the office like, "Dad, what's up, y'all?" I'm in there with our platoon leader. He was a lieutenant, and our platoon sergeant. He was the E7. They sat down with me. They said, "Talford, I don't know what kind of mark you left on Delta company, but their company commander, Captain so-and-so, I don't remember his name now. He, because they had two different captains during my tenure there at Fort Polk, but he came. He said, Captain, and this is the captain I deployed. Anyway, I'm getting in the weeds. He said, Captain so-and-so came in and he demanded to retain you as their medic. They said, you can move whoever else you want. I don't care. You want a new medic squad leader? That's fine. Talford is staying with my company. Does anybody have any problems with that?" So they were like, "No, sir, if you want Talford, you got Talford." So our highest ranking guy, I mean, our platoon leader was lieutenant talking to a captain in an infantry company. Even though we're medics and we're kind of a separate detachment because our role is different. This is a captain in a battalion, and you're not going to tell him no, because then he's just going to go up to the battalion commander, whatever. When they want something to happen, they're going to get it happen. So our LT didn't even fight it. He was just like, "All right, Talford, we don't know what you did. We don't know what kind of mark you left on them, but they love you and they're not losing you." So boom. All right, so I end up staying with them. So I know, guys, I took you all the way around the block to get you to the house next door. That's just what I do. Now, getting to this incident that happened with Chandler. So I ended up deploying. I went overseas. Went to the sandbox, as we called it back then. This is why I'm wearing this hat. I actually wore this hat over there. Did a 4-month tour of duty in the Persian Gulf. Came back, and my time was up with Delta Company. My unit was getting ready to get swallowed up into another unit. They do this whole base realignment and closure thing in the military all the time, where they realign divisions, whatever. And so they're moving. We're getting ready to move to a new unit, and in fact, they're getting ready to move locations from Fort Polk to Fort Hood, Texas. And I'm about, maybe at this point, I'm about 3 months from getting out of the military. But so it's time for me to leave Delta Company, and there's no more, "Hey, Talford, whatever." I did my time at Delta Company, and so we're getting ready to transition. As a part of that transition, where you switch units or whatever, I was transitioning over to a scout unit. All right, and in the motor pool, we had these huge containers. These are the containers that you see on a container ship. And your containers were pretty much your supply closet. This is where your unit kept all the supplies. So our medic unit, we had our supplies. We had a container assigned to us in the motor pool. So as a part of our transition, I and Chandler, we had the responsibility for going in there and laying out and doing inventory on the track. And we had to get it ready for whatever this switchover, this cutover was. I don't remember all the details because this was 30 years ago, okay? So anyway, this was a Monday afternoon before we got released from work that we knew we were going to have to go out here and lay this track out on Tuesday. So we had Tuesday, Wednesday. The inspection was going to be on Thursday and the changeover, okay? So Tuesday, we go down to the motor pool and, we're out there, we're laying out the track. Chandler, he wants to go to lunch. Y'all know me, I'm a Capricorn. I don't like to eat when I feel like I got some more work that I haven't finished yet. So I said, Chandler, man, you go ahead and go down to the mess hall, grab you some food. He's like, come on, T. They used to call me T back then. He said, T, come on, man. He said, you don't want to miss the motor pool. I said, man, if I miss it, I'll just grab something from McDonald's or whatever later. Whatever, cool. Go to Speedy B's, get me some hot chicken, whatever. Boom. And he's like, all right. I said, but I'm going to catch up with you. I'm going to catch you down there. I'm just going to finish up this piece I was working on. He left. All right. So along comes Sergeant Redhead Freckles. I don't remember his last name. I'm going to call him Sergeant Redhead Freckles. And he comes down there. And as I'm finishing up, I'm like, you know what, man, I think I'm going to go and get me some lunch or something. And then maybe I'll come back after, whatever. I'm tired now at this point. I'm hungry. And actually, no. I take that back. I had worked through lunch. Chandler had something he wanted to do. And I said, man, well, look, I said, go ahead, man. I said, go do your thing. I got this for now. Just come back and holler at me, whatever. We didn't have cell phones then. You had to actually beat your feet and go to wherever that person was. All we had were pay phones back then. But so I said, Chandler, do your thing, man. I'm gonna hold this down, till you get back. Or if not, listen, we can finish this up tomorrow or whatever. We got actually, you know what? Let me back up, y'all. We started it on Monday. We resumed it on Tuesday. And we basically had 3 days to get this track laid out, inventory and everything, and all of our reporting done, making it nice and neat, whatever. So, long story short, Sergeant Redhead Freckles comes in and he's like, yo, Talford. He says, what's going on here? This track isn't done yet. I said, no, Sherlock. Yeah, I know it's not done. Now, of course, I couldn't say it like that. I'm an E4 at this point. He's E5, but I don't like how he coming at me. So I talk a little bit slick to him. I'm like, yeah, nah. I said, that's pretty obvious. So he's like, he ain't like me talking to him like that. I'm like, yo, don't get this twisted, man. You one rank above me. I don't care if you a non-commissioned officer. I ain't your boy like that, So I just didn't like how he was coming at me. So he comes, he says, where are you headed? I said, I'm headed to lunch. And I might come back. I mean, he's a little late for lunch. I said, well, I haven't eaten today. And he said, well, this track isn't done. I said, I said, when is the inspection? So he's looking at me like, oh, you're being a smart ass. I said, when's the inspection? He said, the inspection is Thursday. I said, the track will be done before Thursday. He says, well, you know what? He says, I want to make sure that's not done till Thursday. So he said, I want to make sure that's done before Thursday. He said, you're going to get this thing done today. I said, Sarge, you know how the saying goes? You can work me long, but you can't work me hard, baby. My boys, y'all know that. Y'all know that statement. You can work me long, but you can't work me hard. All right? So Sergeant Redhead didn't like that. His face turned red. He said, well, I'll have you out here all night. I said, you can work me long, but you can't work me hard. I'll stay out here all night. I said, Sarge, I live in the barracks. You got a wife and kid, all right? And guess what? You got to be out here with me while I'm laying this out. If we in this motor pool after hours. So if you want to come down here to the motor pool and be out here with me, I'm going to take my sweet time. We're going to get it done before the inspection, but I'm going to take my sweet time like Mrs. Buttersworth. His face turned red. Are you going to have this done before Thursday, Talford? Sergeant, I told you it was going to be done by close of business. I mean, by end of day tomorrow, by end of day, by Reveille, Reveille, they play the horn at, at 4:30, you salute, whatever, you off work, all right? Said this will be done by Reveille tomorrow. It better be. I just shook my head. He walks off, right? But what I didn't know was here comes the divide and conquer. Y'all stay with me. He goes back behind my back. I didn't know he was going to go find Chandler. So he goes to the barracks. Chandler, Talford's going to have you in a motor pool all night long. He said that sweet girl that you've been telling all your friends about you want to go see, you ain't going to be able to see her because Talford told me he's got no problem working in a motor pool overnight. He said he'll work there all night if he has to. I guess that was all he needed to hear. Now I'm going to tell you how I knew those were the words because that's what Chandler told me when he came and got in my face. So Chandler, he storms down to the motor pool. At this point, I'm wrapping up. This is the same day he had ate his lunch. I told him, I said, yo, man, I got it. Yo, y'all know Capricorns. You got Capricorn in your life. You know how we get down. We'll do it by ourselves. Capricorn sun, Capricorn moon, Capricorn rising. We'll do it by ourselves. Won't need nobody. That's just the nature, all right? So he comes down there. Yo, T-Money, man. I said, whoa, Chandler, what's up, man? You mad, man? What's going on? T-Money, man, what the wrong with you, man? I said, what? Yo, bro, pull up. What's wrong, bro? He said, man, you ain't gonna have me in this motor pool all night, man. Everybody, if my boys watching this, they know Chandler had a high-pitched voice, all right? Chandler was the original Cat Williams, all right? Chandler had this high-pitched voice. He was like, T-Money, man, he said, man, T-Money, you ain't gonna have me out here all night, man, doing this, man. T-Money, T-Money, this ain't cool, man. This ain't cool, T-Money. I said, Chandler, all right, man. I said, I'll tell you what, we'll do it your way. Whatever you want to do, brother, whatever you want to do, we'll do it your way, man. I said, but let me explain to you what just happened to you, all right? I said, I told Sergeant I was going to wrap this up for the day and come back tomorrow on Wednesday. And I know I may have left this part out of the story, but it's coming back to me now. I said, I told Sarge I was going to come back on Wednesday and we were going to finish this up and it would be done by close of business on Wednesday. All right. Inspection is Thursday. I said, Chandler, we got a whole nother day. I said, look at how much work I did after you left. I said, but you know what? Since that man going to come down there and punk you later, I said, let me tell you what he did, brother. I said, he came down there and he attempted to sow seeds of discord between you and me. Man, we boys, we go way back, and now you cussing me out off something somebody else threatened to do, threatened that he was going to have you in the motor pool all night long. That's what he did. He went and said, I'm going to have you and Talford in this motor pool all night long. Y'all going to get this done, whatever. And he told me, he going to have you guys in the motor pool all night long, whatever. And I said, you know what he did? I said, that's all right, brother. I said, if you got to come down here and cuss me out off of what, and I'm gonna be blunt. I'm gonna be blunt as on this, y'all, because I'm gonna tell you what I told him. All right, because we had some. If y'all don't think it's racism in the military, ask anybody who's been in the military. All right, if y'all don't think there's racism in the military, yeah, I said it. Ask. If y'all don't think there's racism within the ranks, ask anybody who's been in the military, and they'll tell you. All right, so I'm just keeping it 100 with y'all. That's all I do. All I know how to do is tell the truth. All right. I said, Chandler, that white man came down here and he basically did to you what they used to do to our ancestors. I said, you came down here with the whip and you beat me for his pleasure. I said, so you know what, bro? I said, rather than me fighting you, I'm going to get on the same sheet with you. What do you want to do? How do you want to handle this? We ain't got to stop now and finish this. I said, I told that man, because I knew he didn't want to be down here all night long. So he didn't want us to take a break. He wanted us to just finish and work straight through and get this done to his pleasure so he can go home. I told him, we ain't got no house and no baby and no wife to go home to, so we can be here in the motor pool all overnight. Since you want to try to play it like that, I want to go get me something to eat. I want to leave this motor. I want to relax for a minute. We can come back and finish this up tomorrow. He wasn't happy with that. So I called his bluff. I said, you want to come down here and do this overnight? You got to be down here with me. And I'm gonna take my sweet time. I said, that's what I told him, Chandler. I said, but brother, I said, to win my brother back, I'm gonna do this the way you want to do it. I ain't gonna eat nothing, man. Let's go ahead and finish this track up right now. Chandler came up to me. He came and grabbed me up, gave me a hug. He started crying. He said, T-Money, man. They used to call me T-Money. He said, T-Money, man, I'm sorry, man. I mean, he literally had tears rolling down his face. He said, T-Money, I'm sorry, man. I didn't know, man. I couldn't even see it. He said, man, I ain't got to see my girlfriend, man. He said, T-Money, he tried to split us, man. He tried to split us. He said, T-Money. He said, come on, let's go down to the aid station. Lock this shit up. So I locked the container up. We went down, walked back down to the. He finds Sergeant Redhead down there smiling like, Chandler, did you talk to Talford? He said, yeah, Sergeant. I talked to Talford. He said, we're going to finish it up tomorrow. He said, what? I thought you and I talked. And then he showed his hand. He showed his hand right there. Because he lost his cool. He said, I thought you and I talked. I said, I knew y'all had talked. I knew it. I ain't say nothing. I just sat back in the cut looking at him like this. I just sat back in the cut. And his face turned beet red. Beet red to the point where his boys standing around, they looking at him like, what's going on here? What don't we know? And he said, yeah, Sarge. He said, me and Talford talked, and we gonna finish this up tomorrow. He said, unless you want to come back down to the motor pool with us tonight. He said, we got a right to eat a meal. So he said, come here, both of you. So he's like, all right, whatever, cool. We went outside. He said, guys, damn it, guys, are you going to have this thing done tomorrow? I said, no, Chandler, I got this. I said, Sarge, I told you we were going to have this done tomorrow by close of business. So for him to save face, he goes, well, you better have it done tomorrow or else. I said, Sarge, we're going to have this done tomorrow before close of business. He said, all right. And he went back in the aid station. Then Chandler started laughing. He pulled out a cigarette and smoked it. He dapped me up. He said, T-Money, we got that mother. Because he knew he was trying to punk us because he didn't want to come back to the aid station and be there all night. He wanted to go home to his wife and kid. We single soldiers living in the barracks. So what I just illustrate now, if you guys want to know how the story ended, we went back to the motor pool the next day, and it was done long before the close of business. In fact, we finished it up before lunchtime. We finished it before lunchtime on that Wednesday, and inspection was Thursday. Sergeant came through. He looked at it Wednesday afternoon. He said, wow, you guys did some nice work here. And then Thursday, when it was time for the whole unit inspection and to change the track, the container over, whatever, to whoever was coming in, it was a done deal. And so, moral of the story was, I could have went off on Chandler for coming off on me. But I identified what happened. I knew intuitively what happened, and I said, you know what? I'm not going to fight my brother. I'm going to concede and show him love. I'm going to do it his way just so we ain't fighting each other. But I'm going to explain to him what happened here so he knows so this doesn't happen again. And that's the reason why I shared that story with you. Love won that time. Love is what I showed him. Love is what I put into my words. Love is what he felt when he started crying. He couldn't hold it back. Love was what he returned when he gave me the hug and said, let's go get this mother. We stood together. And we defeated divide and conquer. That sergeant wanted that track. I'm not track. I keep saying track because we're in a mechanized infantry unit, and tracks are what you call your vehicles because they're tracked, not wheeled. All right. That sergeant wanted that container laid out by Tuesday evening. He wanted it done so when he went home, he knew it was done. And I was like, who you think you talking to? You could work me long, but you can't work me hard. And we stood together. That is how you defeat, divide, and conquer. You got to show love to your brother because division comes in. It comes in from without. Okay? All right? That's how, let me go back to this example of the ancient Romans, y'all. That is how the Romans sacked the land of Judah. Do y'all know that if you read between the books of Maccabees and you read the Wars of the Jews, which is one of the writings of Flavius Josephus, what you understand is that the Romans made deals with the elders of the tribe of Judah to collect taxes from the people. And the Romans were like, hey, look, we got you set up. We got y'all set up. Just collect taxes from these people. We gonna station our garrisons in this land so don't nobody bother y'all. Which really the only ones who could have bothered them was the ones who were gonna protect them. Because they had just defeated the Greeks. Matter of fact, they defeated the Greeks so handily, I'm sure the ripple effect went throughout the area, and Rome was like, who is these dudes fighting like this, and they ain't even got no organized army? That was your granddaddy then. That was your great granddaddy then. All right? That was them Harlem Hellfighters. That was them Tuskegee Airmen. That's who it was. But what happened was them elders, they saw the strength of the Romans, and they were like, man, we just got out this war with the Greeks. We need to make an alliance with them. So what in effect happened was the men of Judah made an alliance with the Romans, and the Romans were like, look, just pay us these taxes, let us eat off the fat of the land, and y'all good. We good. We won't attack y'all. We protect y'all from anybody. They were the biggest bully out there. But what happened over time was the younger generations, they got tired of being policed on their own soil. And they were like, yo, man, why? And then they got tired of paying taxes to people who weren't of them. So they started rumbling with the elders, and they were like, look, man, y'all read it. It's in Wars of the Jews. If you don't want to read the whole Wars of the Jews, because it's a big book, go read the sieges of the ancient sieges of Jerusalem and Masada or whatever. I'll put a link to the ebook in the description box. I read the ebook version of that, and it is a more concise account of it basically just dealt with the battle of Jerusalem and the battle of Masada. All right, it didn't get into the whole war and the politics that went into that. But basically, long and short, the ancient Romans, with their ways, had the ancient Hebrews that lived in the land of Judah fighting against each other. You had the one faction who was pro-Roman fighting against the other faction who was anti-Roman, and they were fighting each other. And then the anti-Roman faction was fighting the Romans too. And so you had this bloody civil war going on. And by the time the civil war had waned down a little bit, while you fighting, they were fighting a bilateral war. While they were fighting the civil war, they were fighting the Romans on another front as well. So it's like civil war, you done killed all your strongest fighters, and now you can't defeat the enemy. Because y'all done killed the strongest of you amongst yourselves fighting each other. So, all that said, I mean, come on, do we not see that similar theme today? Y'all go read those books, man. Do you know that, I'm going to say this as an aside, and I'm going to move on. Do you know that within the walls of Jerusalem, they had enough food to withstand a 2-year siege? They had enough food for 2 years. But what happened was, in this side of town that the old heads controlled, they had their grain stores and food stores. In this side of town that the young heads had, they had their grain stores. These young heads went over there and burned up the old heads' food stores. The old heads went over here and burned up the young heads' food stores. And now they ain't got no food. And now you got to fight. And back then they ain't have no pew-pews, all right? They were fighting like men. They had spears, clubs, swords, daggers, slings, darts. You needed to eat to fight back then. You can fight on an empty stomach now because, they don't take a lot of calories to squeeze, if you know what I'm talking about. But my point is divide and conquer. At one point, the Romans could have, prior to 70 AD, the city fell in 70 AD. But prior to 70 AD, the Romans actually could have went in. And there's an account of their lead general, Vespasian, saying, nah, they doing a good job of killing each other. Let them keep fighting. We'll get them after a while. Let them wear each other. Let them wear themselves down a little bit more. That's documented. All right. So y'all think that the French were the first ones to do divide and conquer? It was the Romans did it before them, and I'm sure somebody did it before them. But you can also do it to yourself. All right. It takes love. Now, what if they had showed love to each other? What if they had said, listen, let us find a way to settle our differences among ourselves, and then present a united front and not fight each other? That's love. Love, okay? So let me move on to part 3 and get ready to wrap this up. Part 3 is how to identify attempts to create division and apply the forces of love and understanding to defeat it. Number 1, you got to understand how energy works, all right? You got to understand how energy works. When you understand how energy works, you got to understand how something from outside is coming in and affecting you internally. Is it affecting your heart? Is it affecting your mind? Is this information that came from you, or did it come from somewhere else? You got to understand how energy works, all right? All right? How do you do that? Listen, I got a frequency map. You guys hear me talking about these frequency maps all the time. I put it in the video sometimes. What emotion are you in? What emotion did that event or that information, that news or whatever, what did it trigger in you? Did it trigger a low vibrational emotion, or did it trigger a high vibrational emotion? That's what I mean when I say you got to understand how energy works. If one of those emotions maps to a low frequency, you need to deal with it immediately and bring your frequency up. You got to always be pushing toward love. I think there's only one or two frequencies that sit above love, and I think the highest one is enlightenment. All right? I think the only thing above love is like enlightenment. I'll put the thing on the screen here for you guys to see it. Okay? You have to know the difference between low vibrational energy and high vibrational energy. All right? Attempts to divide and conquer you are typically, and when I'm talking about relationships, I'm not talking about military. I'm talking about relationships. Attempts to divide and conquer are typically going to trigger a low vibrational emotion. All right? Somebody comes in and now you mad at somebody else. They brought low vibrational energy. You absorbed it, and now you're putting it back out. That's why they call these things energy vampires. We watch the vampire movies. What happens? A vampire finds somebody that's got fresh blood, bites them, and then that person turns into a vampire. They suck all their blood out, suck the life out of them, and now this new vampire got to go find somebody else to suck the life out of them. Because the energy vampires, they're low vibrational, they're lifeless. So they're looking for something. They're looking for somebody else who's a little bit higher vibrational, not a lot, but they need something. They need to be able to suck something out of somebody and to keep themselves going. This is why they're called energy vampires. Now, energy vampires are repelled by people who are super high vibrational. They can't stand to be in the presence. Their light hurts them. Oh man, that person's light hurts them. What do you think the Messiah was saying when he said, "You are the light of the world"? I know my eyes are red right now. I told you guys these studio lights bother my eyes, but I didn't want to wear the shades today. I could wear them right now, but these shades, it's weird because these shades are like, let me put them on. That's actually better. So you got to understand the difference between high vibrational and low vibrational energy. All right. So now, once you're able to identify what type of emotion, that information, because it's always spiritual. Guys, everything begins in spiritual and manifests in the physical, okay? That's how these things work. Everything begins in the spiritual, manifests in the physical. So, where are your spiritual channels? Things you see and things you hear, all right? So, if you and another person or group y'all are cool, and then something comes in, and now one or both of you are now in a low vibration and fighting each other, that was a spiritual attempt to divide and conquer. But you got to identify that. Say, wait a minute, I'm not operating in a love frequency. Why am I yelling at you? Why are you yelling at me? Let's figure this thing out. Whoa, wait a minute. Where did this come from? Because just a few minutes ago, we were cool. What happened? Oh, man, Sergeant Redhead Freckleface came down here and said such and such to me. He said you wanted to be out here all night. No, that's not exactly what I said. He said he was going to make me be out here all night because I was going to get this done today, and we got another whole day to do it. And look at the work that we started together, that I continued while I let you go. Look where we at now. How much longer you think it's going to take us to lay this track out? Track, Matt, you keep saying track. How much longer you think it's going to take us to lay out and inventory this container? Look at it. Look at how much work we've done. Is it going to take us a whole nother day to do this? Wouldn't you be okay with coming back and finishing this tomorrow? But since he wanted to be pardon me, nephew, if you're watching this, since he wanted to be an asshole, I'm going to show him I'm a bigger asshole. Now what? He tried to divide us, man, just like they did our ancestors. We fighting each other now for what? Brother started crying. He started crying because you know why? Because I was willing to go that mile with him and say, you know what, F it, let's finish it. If he gonna come down here and get you to come at me like this and we fight, then F it. As long as I ain't fighting you, bro, we in this together. He understood. He understood. He understood. If you want to do something different, you got to do something different. Shout out to my girl, Anya. She says it all the time. If you want to do something different, you got to do something different. You can't do the same thing, expect to get different results. We got to improve upon the mistakes our ancestors made. So the only way to defeat, divide, and conquer is with love. Love. Identify the attempts and then show love. All right? how having a basic understanding of astrology can help improve relationships with your loved ones and fellow man. All right. Real simple. You guys hear me talk about this all the time, your birth charts. All right. I'm not going to put the links in this video. You guys go look at any number of my astrology videos, okay? Just type in astrology, Matt D. Talford in the search bar. Look at any one of my astrology videos. You can find a link to a birth chart calculator. When you know yourself, you know your trigger points, all right? Anybody can get along when anybody can operate in their highest. Like, it's like, how do you move when everything's good? Anybody can move well when everything's good. When things are challenging, that's where the rubber meets the road. That's where you find out what you're made of, all right? Find out what your shadow side is. I'll put a link to that video in there. I did a video talking about shadow work. I did a whole video on that. What is your shadow work? It's the dark side of you. Everybody got a light side and a dark side. Every battery has a positive end and a negative end. Every atom has a proton and an electron, all right? And a neutron. We ain't talking about that, all right? Find out your personal astrology. When you know your personal astrology and you know the personal astrology of your loved ones, then you kind of understand what those characteristics are. Let me give y'all one example, and I'm going to get up off of here. I'm married to a Virgo. All right? And for the longest, we've been married almost 3 decades, all right? And for the longest, I'd be like, oh, man, is she talking? I don't feel like talking, right? I just had a long day of work, and she want to tell me about it. I'm listening, but I don't like it, you know? It's like, I'll listen a little bit longer, but I'm ready to go to bed, you know? I'm just keeping it 100, being transparent. I ain't telling y'all too much of my business side. I'm sharing with you what I want to share with you. But just recently, and it seems like the more I study astrology, the more I know what I don't know, okay? I learned that Virgo, the sign of Virgo, is ruled by the planet Mercury. What is Mercury? Mercury is the planet that is responsible for thought and communication. So I'm like, why am I mad that she wants to talk all the time about different stuff? And that is who she is. That's how she's made up. Now I understand her. So now I can have a little bit more appreciation, compassion, and empathy. All right? She likes to talk. Now, as she's learning about astrology just from hearing me talk about it all the time, she understands that Capricorns, the sign of Capricorn, is ruled by the planet Saturn. Saturn is the taskmaster of the planets. It rules time and task. So now that she understands how these things work, and this is my design, well, he's a Capricorn. He's not being mean when he says, I'm trying to finish work and I don't want to talk right now. She understands that I'm not being mean. That is who I am. Now, that is not to say that you use that as an excuse. For you to get along, you got to get along. And getting along is about some give and take here. You know what, man? She really, this ain't nothing frivolous. She really needs to talk about something. Let me put my work down and go see what's happening. What's wrong, babe? What's happening? What you got on your mind? What happened? Boom. That's love. That's love. She knows that I'm not being, she know I'm not being mean. She's like, you know what? He works really hard and he's probably, how close are you to finishing? Oh, I got about another 15, 20 minutes. Okay, well, we can talk after you're done then. And now she ain't mad. She understands. So this is what I mean. I just gave you guys an example, understanding just a little bit about astrology and how it helps you to understand how people are made. Now, I got another video. You ain't mad at me, you mad at God. Don't get mad at me. A lot of y'all be like, oh, you talking about astrology with that? Listen, you're not mad at me. You're mad at God, okay? So, I'm not going to let you control my speech, all right? You ain't mad. I didn't create myself. The bottom line is I did not create myself. But I'm getting in the weeds. That's neither here or there. Divide and conquer. Listen, you got to identify when things came from outside, all right? Identify when things came from outside, all right? Identify when things came from outside. Only things come from outside to divide you, all right? If you want to divide a piece of cake, it takes a butter knife from outside to divide that cake. That cake doesn't divide itself. This is why I read that scripture, a house divided against itself cannot stand. Sometimes you can create disharmony within your relationship with somebody else by not doing what? Showing love. That's why I read that scripture in the beginning. All right? That's why I read that scripture. I'm going to go back to these 2 scriptures and I'm going to end this video. All right? So we're going to end the way we started. We began with Mark 3:25, and it says what? And if a house be divided against itself, that house cannot stand. If you're a unit, we're not doing military. I'm talking about your relationship, your family unit, your work unit, Your home, if it's divided against itself, it's eventually going to fall. How do you bridge that divide? You find out what is causing the divide and you address it. That's Mark 3:25. Back to Proverbs. Back to Proverbs, the 4th chapter. Okay? Proverbs chapter 4, verses 5 through 7. Get wisdom, get understanding. Forget it not, neither decline from the words of my mouth. Forsake her not, wisdom, and she shall preserve thee, wisdom. Love her, wisdom, and she shall keep thee, wisdom. And number 7, here's the kicker. Wisdom is the principal thing. Therefore, get that wisdom, and with all thy getting, get understanding. I understood why Chandler was coming down there giving me the business and cursing me out. I understood why, because I just had a conversation with the causative factor, okay? I had just had a conversation with him. So I identified that butter knife that came and tried to divide the cake. And I called it out. All right? I identified that. All right? Wisdom and understanding. I understood why he was coming down there at me. So with wisdom, I addressed him. And ultimately, I showed him love. He returned the love. We bridged the gap. We stood together as a united front and went back down to the sergeant and said, we'll see you back in this motor pool tonight. Because that's what happened. That's what happened. That's how it went, y'all. I told you it was almost 30 years ago. We went back down there and we told him, we'll see you at the motor pool tonight. And that's when he got surprised, like, Chandler, buddy, I thought we talked. What's going on here? Defeat, divide, and conquer with love. That's all I got for y'all, family. Listen, if you like this type of content, you like my content, you've been through my channel, you like it, you haven't subscribed, if you want to, hit the subscribe button, all right? But if you like this video, I hope that you do. You'll give it a thumbs up. I hope you guys learned something today. If you got a story you want to share, though I shared with you guys one story, but all of our stories combined help the community to grow. We help each other to heal. If you got a story of how you defeated, divide, and conquer by showing love, I want to hear it. And I'm sure there's some other people in the comments that would benefit from it. We all learn from each other. We have learned enough destruction from each other. Let's learn love and how to build from each other, y'all. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel and you like this type of content, hit the subscribe button. Be sure to turn the notification bell up to all so you'll be notified when I drop new content, all right? I'm an award-winning author, 2 books, From Fear to Faith, A Survivor's Story, a tale of how having the proper mindset can help you to overcome the worst of circumstances and achieve the impossible. Check that book out, y'all. You can get it in Apple iBooks. You can get it on Amazon Kindle, or you can get it at paperback at my website, www.talfordarts.com, or at amazon.com. All right? And then there is Stuck in an Elevator, another entertaining book filled with lessons. All right? It is a tale of passion and yet self-discovery that takes place high above the Los Angeles skyline. And if I can tell you one thing about that book, it is this: never judge a book by its cover, all right? That book is also available in print at my website and at www.talfordarts.com, and it's available in ebook and ebook format on Kindle and iBooks. And last but not least, for those of you who like audiobooks, From Fear to Faith, The Survivor Story is available in audiobook, all right? And listen, guys, I'll end this one like I do all of them. Tell somebody you love them and me. Oh, I almost forgot. Tennis heads. Y'all hear me talk about tennis from time to time. If you follow me on my Instagram at Matt D. Talford, you can see my pictures I'm posting. I'm always on the tennis court playing in a tournament, a league match or something, whatever. Just a pickup match. I love tennis. It helps keep me in shape. It helps keep the weight down, and it just helps to humble me, because tennis is a very humbling sport. All right, it's fun. But it's also humbling, and you meet some great people and you build great relationships on the tennis court. So I got a tennis book out there, Captain's Mate. For those of you who are tennis players, that book will benefit you from beginner through advanced. Okay, check it out. Also filled with leadership principles. So check that out. That's Captain's Mate, and you can also get that in print in the same locations, also in ebook at Amazon Kindle and Apple iBooks. All right, guys, listen, tell somebody you love them and mean it. How do you mean it? You got to show it. Love is a action word, okay? it is a verb. Love is also a noun. It is also a state of being. It's an emotion. But if you focus on the verb, the noun always takes care of itself. Show love and you will have love. And you will be love. Love is how you defeat, divide, and conquer. And there's a lot of that going on in the world right now. All you got to do is turn on the news. All right? Take care, family. I love you guys. Peace.